My wife posted, "My body, my choice," with a bikini pic while on a girl's trip with her ex. I didn't comment. Just canceled her return flight and changed the locks. She's been stranded at the airport for 5 hours calling me. But I'm at dinner with her sister. I, 34M, never thought I'd be the type of person to do something this calculated, this cold. But here I am, sitting in a dimly lit restaurant across from her sister, watching my phone buzz with increasingly desperate calls from my wife of 6 years. Each vibration on the table feels like a small victory, though the taste of revenge is more bitter than I expected. It started 3 days ago with a simple Instagram post. A bikini photo. My wife's toned body stretched out on some tropical beach, the caption reading, "My body, my choice," with a winking emoji. Nothing inherently wrong with that, except she was supposed to be on a girl's trip with her college friends. Nothing wrong, except I recognized the background, the same resort where she'd vacationed with her ex-boyfriend 2 years before we met. Nothing wrong, except her college friend Sarah had posted her own photos from a completely different location the same day. I stared at that post for what felt like hours, my coffee growing cold as the pieces fell into place. The way she'd been distant for months. The sudden girl's trip that came up out of nowhere. The fact that she'd been unusually secretive about her phone lately, taking it to the bathroom, keeping it face down during dinner. I didn't comment on the post. Didn't like it. Didn't react at all. Instead, I opened my laptop and started making some calls. The first call was to the airline, explaining that there had been a family emergency and I needed to cancel my wife's return flight was surprisingly easy. They were sympathetic, understanding. The cancellation fee would hurt, but not as much as my pride already did. The second call was to a locksmith. He could be there in 2 hours. Professional, discreet, and expensive. Worth every penny. The third call was to her sister. She answered on the first ring, and I could hear the concern in her voice immediately. I told her I needed to talk, that it was about her sister, and could we meet for dinner tonight. She agreed without hesitation, probably sensing something was seriously wrong. Now here we are, 2 hours after my wife's flight was supposed to land, and my phone hasn't stopped ringing. I've let every call go to voicemail, but I can see the progression of emotions in her contact attempts. First confused, then worried, then angry, now desperate. Her sister sits across from me, playing with her salad, the weight of what I've told her settling in. She looks like a younger version of my wife, same dark hair, same expressive eyes, but where my wife has grown cold and calculating over the years, her sister still maintains a warmth that drew me to their family in the first place. She finally looks up at me, and I can see she's been crying. She tells me she suspected something was going on, but hoped she was wrong. She mentions noticing changes in her sister's behavior during family gatherings, the way she'd step outside to take calls, the way she'd become evasive when talking about her marriage. I ask her if she knew about the ex-boyfriend, about the trip. She shakes her head, says she thought it really was a girl's trip, but admits she found it strange that her sister hadn't mentioned which friend she was going with. In our family, we usually know these details. My phone buzzes again. This time it's a text message. I can see the preview. Please just answer the phone. I can explain everything. I'm stuck at the airport and I don't understand. I show the message to her sister. She reads it and pushes her plate away, appetite gone. She asks me what I plan to do next, if I've thought this through. The concern in her voice isn't just for her sister. It's for me too. And somehow that makes this whole situation feel more real. I tell her I have thought it through. For months, actually. I've been documenting the changes in our relationship, the growing distance, the lies that seemed small at first but kept accumulating. This trip was just the final confirmation of what I'd been suspecting for a long time. She asked me if I love her sister anymore. It's a simple question that cuts right to the heart of everything. I consider it carefully before answering. I tell her I love the person her sister used to be, the woman I married, but I'm not sure that person exists anymore. Somewhere along the way, she became someone willing to lie to my face while planning romantic getaways with her ex. The restaurant around us continues its normal dinner service. Couples at other tables laugh and share desserts, probably planning their own vacations together, trusting each other with their hearts and their futures. I wonder how many of them are living lies. How many are like me, sitting across from evidence of betrayal with their world quietly crumbling. My phone rings again. This time I answer. Her voice is frantic, exhausted. She tells me there's been some mistake, that the airline says her ticket was canceled, that she's been trying to get another flight, but everything is booked solid. She asks me to please help her figure this out, says she just wants to come home. I let her talk for a while, listening to the desperation creep into her voice. Airport announcements echo in the background. She's probably been sitting on that uncomfortable terminal seating for hours now, her romantic getaway ending in a way she never expected. Finally, I speak. I tell her there was no mistake. I canceled the flight myself. I also mentioned that I changed the locks on our house, and that she shouldn't bother coming home tonight. Or tomorrow. Or ever. The silence on the other end stretches for what feels like an eternity. When she finally speaks, her voice has changed completely. The desperation is gone, replaced by something harder, more calculating. She asks me what I think I know, tells me I'm being ridiculous, that I'm jumping to conclusions. I describe her exact location in the photo she posted. I mentioned the resort's distinctive architecture, the specific beach, the way the sun hits that particular stretch of sand in the late afternoon. I tell her I called Sarah, who was very confused about being credited with a girl's trip she wasn't on. Another silence. Then anger. She tells me I had no right to investigate her, no right to invade her privacy by calling her friends. She says I'm controlling, paranoid, that this is exactly why she needed space from our marriage. I hang up. Her sister has been listening to my side of the conversation, and now she looks pale. She asks me what her sister said about the trip. I give her the highlights, watch as she processes the full extent of her sister's deception. She tells me something that makes my stomach drop. Last month, her sister had asked to borrow money, $2,000 for what she said was a work emergency. Her sister had been reluctant, but ultimately helped out, and now she realizes that money probably funded this romantic reunion. My phone buzzes with text messages. I can see them piling up on my lock screen. Threats, promises, bargaining, more threats. The full cycle of someone who's been caught and is desperately trying to regain control of the narrative. I order another drink and ask her sister about her childhood memories, the sister she grew up with. She tells me stories about a girl who was fiercely loyal, who once got into a fight defending a friend, who cried for days when their family dog died. She wonders aloud when that person disappeared, when loyalty became negotiable. We talk about family dynamics, about how people change, about the difference between the personas we present and who we really are underneath. She admits she's always felt like she was living in her sister's shadow, that her sister was the one who got everything she wanted, who people gravitated toward naturally. I find myself really looking at her for the first time tonight. Not as my wife's sister, not as a family obligation, but as her own person. She's intelligent, thoughtful, genuinely concerned about everyone involved in this mess. She keeps asking if I'm okay, if I need anything, if there's anything she can do to help. My phone rings again. This time I let her sister see the screen. It's my wife, calling from a different number now. Her sister shakes her head and tells me I don't have to answer. She's right. I don't. Instead, I ask her if she'd like to get dessert. She seems surprised by the suggestion, given the circumstances, but agrees. We spend the next hour talking about everything except her sister. Work, movies, books, travel plans. Normal conversation between two adults who are discovering they actually enjoy each other's company. It's been 6 hours since my wife's flight was supposed to land. The calls have slowed down, probably because her phone is dying or she's finally accepted that I'm not going to rescue her tonight. Part of me wonders where she'll sleep, but a larger part of me realizes that's no longer my problem to solve. Her sister asks me what happens now. I tell her honestly that I don't know. Probably lawyers, definitely divorce papers, certainly a lot of explaining to friends and family. The house will need to be sold, assets divided, a whole life untangled one thread at a time. She asks if I think her sister ever really loved me. It's another question I can't answer definitively. I think she loved the idea of me, the stability I represented, the life we built together. But love shouldn't coexist with this level of deception, this willingness to risk everything for a weekend with an ex. We walk to our cars together. The parking lot is mostly empty now, and the evening has turned cool. She stops at her car and turns to face me. She says she's sorry for everything her sister has put me through, that I deserve better, that she hopes I find happiness again. I thank her for listening tonight, for being honest about what she knew and what she suspected. I tell her she doesn't need to apologize for her sister's choices, that we're all responsible for our own actions. She hesitates before getting in her car, and I can tell there's something else she wants to say. Finally, she tells me that if I ever need someone to talk to during all this, someone who understands the family dynamics, I can call her. She says it carefully, professionally, but there's something in her eyes that suggests the offer encompasses more than just friendly support. I drive home to a house that feels different already. The changed locks are just symbolic. The real change is in the silence, the absence of someone who was slowly poisoning what we'd built together. I walk through rooms that suddenly feel like mine again, like spaces I can inhabit honestly. My phone has several more messages from my wife. I delete them without reading them. Tomorrow I'll need to start the practical work of ending a marriage. But tonight, I just want to sit in the quiet and think about the conversation I had with her sister. There's a certain poetry to the situation that doesn't escape me. My wife chose to spend her weekend with someone from her past, someone who represented who she was before she met me. In response, I spent my evening with someone who might represent a different kind of future, someone who shares her blood, but not her capacity for betrayal. I pour myself a whiskey and sit in my living room, looking at our wedding photos on the mantle. Tomorrow I'll probably take them down, but tonight they serve as a reminder of how completely someone can change, how the person you promised to love forever can become someone you no longer recognize. My phone buzzes one more time. This time it's her sister, texting to make sure I got home safely and asking if I need anything. Such a simple gesture, but it highlights the contrast between the two sisters perfectly. One who creates chaos and abandons responsibility, another who checks on people and offers support. I text back that I'm fine, that I appreciate her concern, and that I'll probably take her up on that offer to talk soon. She responds immediately with a heart emoji and tells me to try to get some sleep. Update 1. It's been 3 days since that dinner, and the situation has evolved in ways I didn't expect. My wife finally made it home, but not to our house. She's staying with a friend across town. She's been texting me from different numbers, alternating between apologies and accusations. Her sister has been checking on me daily. Yesterday, she brought me coffee, and we ended up talking for 2 hours in my kitchen. She's been fielding calls from their parents, trying to explain the situation without taking sides, though I can tell the family is struggling with what my wife has done. I've retained a lawyer, a sharp woman in her 50s who specializes in difficult divorces. She reviewed the evidence I've gathered and seems confident we can move through this efficiently. My wife's financial infidelity, using borrowed money to fund her affair, adds another layer of complexity to the proceedings. The most interesting development came yesterday evening. Her sister called to tell me that my wife had contacted her ex-boyfriend's wife. Apparently, she wanted to warn her about the affair, thinking it might somehow help her own situation. Instead, it just created more wreckage. 2 marriages imploding simultaneously because of one selfish weekend. I asked her sister how she was handling all this family drama. She admitted it's been difficult, that she's caught between loyalty to her sister and recognition that what happened was wrong. She also said something that's been staying with me, that watching this unfold has made her think about what she wants in her own relationships, what kind of person she wants to be with. We've started texting throughout the day. Nothing inappropriate, just check-ins, shared observations about the divorce process, occasional humor to break the tension. She sent me a photo yesterday of a terrible motivational poster in her office, captioned, "Thought you needed a laugh." It worked. My wife has apparently figured out that her sister and I have been in contact. She's not happy about it. Her sister showed me some of the messages she's been receiving, accusations of betrayal, demands for loyalty, threats to cut contact if she doesn't stop talking to me. Her sister's response was simple. She's an adult who can choose her own friends, and she's not going to be manipulated into taking sides in a situation where the right and wrong are pretty clear. Update 2. 2 weeks have passed, and the divorce papers have been filed. My wife finally agreed to meet with lawyers instead of continuing to blow up my phone with increasingly unhinged messages. The process is moving faster than I expected, partly because the evidence is so clear and partly because she seems eager to just get through it. Her sister and I have been spending more time together. Not dating. The situation is too complicated for that, but building something that feels like genuine friendship. She's been my guide through the family politics, helping me understand which relatives I need to reach out to, which bridges are worth maintaining. Last weekend, she helped me pack up my wife's remaining belongings. It was surreal, going through the debris of a marriage with her sister, but also cathartic. She found letters from the ex-boyfriend dating back months before the trip, confirming that this wasn't a spontaneous reunion, but a planned affair. We've discovered we have more in common than I ever realized. Similar taste in books, movies, food. She's funny in a dry way that my wife never was, more thoughtful about other people's feelings. Yesterday, she brought me homemade soup when I mentioned I was feeling run down, a simple gesture that reminded me what caring actually looks like. The family dynamics have been interesting to navigate. Their parents are devastated, caught between their daughters. Their mother called me last week to apologize, to say she raised her daughter better than this, that she doesn't understand how things went so wrong. Their father has been quieter but supportive, asking if I need anything, treating me like I'm still family, even though I won't be much longer. My wife has been trying to control the narrative, telling people that our marriage was already over, that we'd been having problems for years, that the trip was just the final straw. Her sister has been quietly correcting these stories when they come up, not aggressively, but factually. She was there for family dinners. She saw how we interacted. She knows the truth. The ex-boyfriend's wife filed for divorce too, so my wife managed to destroy 2 families with her weekend getaway. I heard through her sister that she's struggling with guilt now, finally understanding the full scope of what she's done. Too late for remorse to matter, but at least she's facing reality. Update 3. A month has passed since that night at the restaurant, and my divorce is nearly finalized. What started as revenge has evolved into something I never expected, a new beginning. Her sister and I are officially dating now. It started slowly, carefully, with both of us aware of how complicated the situation was. But what we have feels genuine, built on honesty and mutual respect in a way my marriage never was. She's nothing like her sister where it matters, loyal, straightforward, emotionally present. The family has mostly adapted to the new reality. Their parents were initially concerned about the optics, but they've come to understand that sometimes life takes unexpected turns. Her sister and I didn't create this situation. We just found each other in the aftermath. My ex-wife has moved to another city, starting over somewhere she doesn't have to face the consequences of her choices daily. She sent one final message through her sister, an apology that felt genuine but came too late to change anything. Some mistakes are too fundamental to forgive, too destructive to overcome. I've learned something important through all this. Revenge might provide temporary satisfaction, but building something real with someone who deserves your trust is infinitely more rewarding. That night I stranded my wife at the airport. I thought I was ending something. I didn't realize I was also beginning something else. Her sister jokes that she should thank her sister for being such a terrible wife, since it led us to each other. Dark humor, but there's truth in it. Sometimes the worst betrayals clear the path for the best things in our lives. We're taking things slowly, building a relationship based on everything my marriage lacked. Honesty, respect, genuine care for each other's well-being. She knows the worst parts of my story and chooses to be here anyway. That's not something I took for granted in my marriage, but it's something I'll never take for granted again. The house sold last week. I'm moving into a new place next month, somewhere without memories of broken promises and hidden betrayals. Her sister is helping me apartment hunt, bringing a perspective I value and trust. We're not moving in together yet, too soon for that, but we're building towards something that feels sustainable and real. Looking back on that Instagram post, that moment when my world shifted, I realized it was a gift in disguise. It forced me to confront truths I'd been avoiding, to stop accepting less than I deserved, to make space in my life for someone who actually values what we're building together. My ex-wife posted her, my body, my choice, caption thinking she was asserting independence, claiming freedom from the constraints of marriage. She was right about choice. We all have them. I chose to stop accepting betrayal. I chose to value myself enough to walk away. And unexpectedly, I chose to open my heart to someone who was worth the risk. Sometimes the best revenge isn't what you do to someone who's wronged you. Sometimes it's what you build afterward, what you create in the space they used to occupy. Sometimes it's finding someone who makes you grateful that the wrong person left, because it made room for the right one to stay.